James, son of Alphaeus, is often identified with James the Less, who is only mentioned 3 times in the Bible, each time in connection with his mother. Mark chapter 15 verse 40 refers to Mary, the mother of James and of Joseph, while Mark chapter 16 verse 1 and Matthew chapter 27 verse 56 also refers to Mary, the mother of James. As there was a more prominent James, the son of Zebedee, among the 12 apostles, today's James, the son of Alphaeus, is called the Lesser James, James of Zebedee being James the Greater. Tradition identifies Cleopas, the husband of Mary, with Alphaeus, the father of the apostle James. This identification was accepted by early church leaders, and so our saint of today is James the Less, a cousin of Jesus. The greater James was one of the first disciples to join Jesus in Capernaum. The synoptics describe James and John as fishermen with their father when Jesus called them to follow him. Matthew chapter 4 verses 21 to 22, Mark chapter 1 verses 19 to 20. He was one of the 3 apostles Jesus chose as witness through his transfiguration. The Acts of the Apostles says that Agrippa had James executed by sword. Acts chapter 12 verses 1 to 2. We also hear of James' fiery temper, for which he and his brother earned the nickname Boanerges, or sons of thunder. Mark chapter 3 verse 17. It is the remains of James the Less that are reputed to be in Compostela in Galicia, which is today's Spain. And this James is the patron saint of Spain. Santiago de Compostela is considered the 3rd holiest shrine within Roman Catholicism after Jerusalem and Rome, and the traditional pilgrimage to his tomb, known as the Camino de Santiago, has been popular with Europeans from the early Middle Ages onwards. In light of the many thousands who walk the Camino each year, one might even regard St. James as patron of environmentally friendly tourism. Today, on the 4th day of the novena of St. Ignatius, we reflect on the theme, Consolation and Desolation, in a section of the spiritual exercises that treats the discernment of spirits. St. Ignatius explains how to respond to the feelings of consolation or feelings of desolation. By consolation, he is referring to any pleasant, positive feeling of closeness to God, of being loved by him and by loving him in return. In response to these feelings, St. Ignatius encourages us to be grateful, to rejoice, and to continue in our life and practice of faith. Yet, he also reminds us that these feelings will most likely not last forever. For in this life, we are also subject to feelings of desolation. By desolation, Ignatius is referring to unpleasant feelings. These can include such negative feelings as laziness, agitation, or sadness, perhaps including a sense of being spiritually distant from God or an all-around lack of zeal. Yet, desolation might also include such a sense of dread or maybe even of having failed. Ignatius claims that these feelings can be the result of having sinned, of having given into the temptations of the devil, and having turned away from God. However, desolation can also arise from God's desire to strengthen us, as his invitation for us to believe in him even when His grace and presence is not felt. In times of desolation, Ignatius encourages us to refrain from making any big decisions, to recall the periods of consolation that we have previously experienced, and to increase our prayers by 5 to 10%. In doing so, we will be better able to understand that the desolation we are going through are an invitation to turn from one area of sin or another, or to trust that desolations we are going through are all a part of God's loving plan to unite us more fully with Himself. Let us reflect on the consolations and desolations we are experiencing in the spiritual life right now. How can we more fully trust in God, who allows and works in all things for our good, that we continue to trust God? Let's pray for this grace for one another.